Things are getting pretty wild out there. XRP just hit $2.27 today, which honestly stings a bit. Look, some analysts are saying it could get rougher before we turn the corner. And if you caught my video yesterday, I was literally talking about this. Multiple chart analysts were flashing warning signs about a crypto drop coming, and XRP was right in the crosshairs. So yeah, it happened. But here's the thing. Nothing's actually broken on the charts. The big picture, still intact. The bull market, I really don't think we've hit the peak yet. I just don't see it, and more importantly, the chart analysts I follow aren't seeing it either. Think about it this way. If we were sliding into a bear market right now, it would look totally different from what we've seen before. Bitcoin never had that crazy, euphoric blow-off top. Altcoins never had their moment in the sun. There was no alt season. None of that happened. Well, I gotta ask you this. Why would we see a 70%, 80%, or even 90% pullback from here? Even if we were entering a bear market, it just doesn't add up. The math doesn't work. You want to know why we've seen those massive pullbacks in previous cycles? Because the markets got absolutely scorching hot. We're talking full-blown bubble territory. Prices went parabolic. Everyone and their grandma was buying crypto, and the whole thing needed a massive correction to reset. That's just how it works. But here's the key point. That hasn't happened this time. It just hasn't. Plain and simple. So let me be clear about where I stand. Even if we are entering a bear market, which I personally do not believe is happening, and I'm pretty firm on that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll own it. But based on everything I'm seeing, I don't think that's where we're headed. But let's say hypothetically we are. Even then, it would be nowhere near as severe as what we've experienced in previous cycles. It couldn't be. The setup is completely different. So let's break this down. As I'm recording this right now, XRP is sitting at $2.34. And remember that 24-hour low I mentioned earlier? $2.27. That was the bottom we hit today. Now, let me be super clear about something. This wasn't an XRP thing. This was the entire crypto market getting absolutely hammered, global scale. Everyone took it on the chin today. I mean, I say major pullback, but let's actually look at the numbers here. What are we really talking about? XRP is down less than 4% over the last 24 hours. Obviously, it looked a bit uglier when we were at that low point, but still. Look, when you pull up your portfolio or check the charts, it's just red everywhere. A complete sea of red, and that's freaking people out. Honestly, people were already on edge before today even happened. This just made it worse. So when you see all this red bleeding across your screen, yeah, people are losing their minds. And Bitcoin, it tanked too. The whole market just got body slammed today. Right now, Bitcoin's sitting at $106,933. But look at that 24-hour low, $105,534. That's the number that's got everyone spiraling. Okay, pause for a second. I need to tell you something. I held Bitcoin at $3,200, and now I'm sitting here in my studio in 2025 making a video about people having meltdowns because Bitcoin dipped to $105,534. Like, do you hear how insane that sounds when I say it out loud? I held XRP at 10 cents, a dime. I watched it climb all the way to $3.65 this summer, with all of you cheering in the comments. And today, I'm recording a video about the panic and fear because XRP touched $2.27. Come on, step back for a second. Zoom out. That's all I'm asking you to do right now. So check this out. Ryan Dietrich, who's the chief market strategist over at Carson Group, just dropped some pretty interesting data. And honestly, it's got me thinking about what's coming in 2026. Now get this. He's saying the S&P 500 was down more than 15% year-to-date in April, but will likely close up double digits. All right, so let me just pat myself on the back for a hot second here. You remember April, right? When the entire financial world was losing its mind? People were acting like we were headed straight into an economic apocalypse. Markets were bleeding red, panic was everywhere, and I'm over here like, everybody chill. This is not the end times. That was when the fear really kicked into overdrive. That first big wave of terror that had everyone running for the exits. I'm pretty sure we bottomed out around April 7th or something like that. Don't hold me to that exact date, I'm just going off what's stuck in my brain. But yeah, somewhere in that ballpark. And what happened? Spoiler alert, the world didn't end. Shocker, I know. Fast forward to now, and we've absolutely ripped higher from those lows. Like, not even close to where we were. But here's the thing, and this is actually why I'm bringing all this up in the first place. Crypto moves with the stock market, like they're basically dance partners. Pull up a chart and zoom out even a little bit, and boom, there it is, plain as day. Stocks are risk on, crypto is risk on. When people are feeling bold and ready to take risks with their money, both of these markets catch fire at the same time. Now look, if you get super granular with it, like you're staring at every single minute, every day, every week, sure, they might not match up tick for tick. But step back and look at the bigger picture, the correlation is undeniable. It's been there forever, and it's not going anywhere. But yo, check this out, because this lines up perfectly with what Raoul Pal, Julian Biddle, and TechDev have been hammering on about. They're all saying the same thing. This bull market isn't done yet, not even close. They're expecting it to stretch all the way into 2026, with the top coming sometime in Q1 or Q2 of next year. You know, that peak euphoria moment where everyone and the grandma is buying stocks. And here's the thing. If you look at historical patterns, if you believe that history tends to rhyme with itself, which it does, by the way, then yeah, you should absolutely expect stocks to keep climbing higher from here. And guess what? If crypto keeps doing what it's always done, moving right alongside the stock market, then yeah, this whole thesis actually makes a ton of sense. The pieces fit together. It's not just random speculation. There's actual precedent for this kind of move. So Ryan Dietrich breaks it down like this. 2025 will join 1982, 2009, and 2020 as the only other years to do this. And what he means by that is having a massive pullback. In our case this year, we're talking 15% down, but then flipping the script and closing up double digits. So you go from down double digits to up double digits in the same year. That's a pretty wild swing. And look, I'm assuming 2025 actually does close up like that. I'd be legitimately shocked if it didn't at this point. I mean, you'd need some kind of black swan event to derail this thing now. But here's where it gets really interesting. He says, turns out slingshots are quite powerful, as the next year has been up double digits every single time. ... And folks, check this out. It's been up double digits every single time since 1950. Every single time. So unless we're living in some alternate universe, 2026 is shaping up to be pretty damn green. Now think about this for a second. What does that mean for crypto? Remember, crypto hasn't even hit its peak yet. This is exactly why I can't stop talking about Raoul Pal's thesis lately. Because honestly, the longer this plays out, the more crystal clear it becomes. We're staring at two wildly different paths here. Either we're nosediving into an absolutely brutal bear market right this second, or Raoul nailed it. Those are your options. One of these two things is happening, and we're about to find out which. Here's what Swissblock, an on-chain analytics firm, just posted. Bitcoin, what's the game plan here? Listen to this. It's been 180 days since Bitcoin smashed through $100,000. And guess what? It hasn't closed below it even once. That $100,000 zone, that's your line in the sand. It's a structural floor built on massive volume and rock-solid support. This is November's moment of truth. Hold $100,000 and the bulls are loading up for another run. Lose it? There's nothing underneath. Just empty space and panic. Now that last part, I'm seeing the same thing from tons of analysts. There's no middle ground here, no comfortable sideways action where we just chill. We're not hanging out in limbo. Either we're about to fall into some serious bear territory, or this thing is gearing up to absolutely rip higher. That's it. Pick your side. Look, some analysts will tell you we can dip a bit lower without breaking anything major. And hey, I'll let the chart people hash out those exact levels amongst themselves. I do see some of that analysis floating around. But here's what I'm noticing. There are a ton of comments saying the same thing. One of these two scenarios is about to play out, so we're all going to find out together. But here's my take. Even if we do drop lower, I'm just not buying that this cycle is done. Not even close. And let me remind you of something. CoinMarketCap tracks 30 different cycle top indicators. I don't have it pulled up right now, it just popped into my head. But they track 30 different metrics that signal a cycle top. 0 out of 30 have triggered. Not one. So either we're not heading into a bear market, or every single one of those indicators just failed for the first time in history. They're all suddenly useless. They triggered in every previous cycle, but now, nothing. And apparently it's just over. I don't think that's likely. Sure, improbable things happen sometimes, but I'm not betting on it. Here's what Santiment, an on-chain analytics firm, just dropped. Bitcoin's market value has fallen 14% since hitting its all-time high back on October 6th. But here's the thing that's actually encouraging. Bitcoin is staying off exchanges. Here's why that matters. When coins aren't moving to exchanges, the risk of major sell-offs drops. The numbers back this up. There are 208,980 fewer total Bitcoin on exchanges compared to 6 months ago. That's 1.08% less of the total available supply sitting on exchanges. Now look, this doesn't mean price can't drop, but think about how bad things could actually get. When Bitcoin is moving off exchanges, that's people voting with their wallets. They're basically saying, yeah, I'm not planning to sell this anytime soon. And by the way, just last week, I made a video showing the exact same pattern happening with XRP. Does this guarantee markets won't go lower? Number. Does it mean nobody's selling? Of course not. But folks, those are significant numbers. Here's what chart analyst Crypto Wizard posted. He breaks down Bitcoin like this. Back on October 27th, when Bitcoin hit $115,497, he warned that if it kept following the pattern, there might be one final pullback. Since then, Bitcoin has dropped over $10,000. That's 8.82%. And now, panic is spreading everywhere. His advice? Follow the plan. Once support kicks in, expect a bounce. He posted that this afternoon. So he's one of the analysts who actually saw this coming. He thought there was a decent chance we'd see a pullback like this. And here's what matters. He considers this totally normal crypto volatility. He still thinks this market is heading way higher. Here's what gets me. Out of all the analysts I follow, every single one except one is saying the same thing. Nothing is broken on the higher time frames. Big picture, the charts aren't broken. There's nothing here that should flip the bullish outlook. So are they all wrong? I mean, I doubt it. But we're about to find out. Here's what Credible Crypto just posted. He says Bitcoin is still at the same levels it was when he left. I think he went on vacation or something. That's what he's talking about there. By the way, this is from this afternoon, right before noon. So he says Bitcoin's sitting at the same price as when he left, but when he checks his timeline, the mood is 10 times worse. His take, nothing has actually changed. Bitcoin is still bullish as hell on the higher time frames. Anyone telling you different is either looking at the wrong chart or trying to call the top early for like the 16th time this cycle. Maybe this time they'll finally be right. Maybe this time really is different. But based on what he's seen, there's nothing that actually suggests that. Not even close. Yeah, and I should mention he's also posted today that Bitcoin could drop all the way to $74,000, and that still wouldn't break market structure in his view. So there's that. Look, I know that sounds crazy, especially if you're new to crypto. You're probably thinking, wait, you're telling me it could drop that much? And yeah, that would be totally within historical norms for crypto. Those kinds of swings happen. Now, he's not predicting Bitcoin will hit $74,000. He's just showing you how much room there is before we reach actual panic territory. That's the point he's making. This is normal crypto behavior. Same thing with XRP and how it's moving right now. Historically normal. There's nothing strange happening here. It's just moving with the rest of the crypto market. Nothing's broken. XRP's fundamentals right now, strongest they've been in over 13 years. So being scared at this point, that just doesn't add up. Now look at what Mikey Bull Crypto just dropped. Bitcoin's Bollinger Bands are squeezed so tight right now. And you know what usually comes after this? When sentiment gets this nasty, a monster move. He's not the only one saying it either. Another analyst is calling out the same thing. These are the tightest Bollinger Bands Bitcoin has ever seen. Sound familiar? because we were all over this with XRP last year. Remember? XRP's Bollinger Bands got tighter than they'd ever been in history. Here's what that tells us. When volatility keeps shrinking into this tiny little box, it can't stay there forever. Something's about to snap. It's like a rubber band stretched to its limit. But here's the million-dollar question. Which way does it snap? The bands don't tell you that part. If we're genuinely heading into bear territory, sure, we could see an absolute bloodbath on the way down. But if we're not, get ready for an explosive move up. And XRP last year? Perfect example. We saw exactly that happen. That's for damn sure. Here's something interesting. A guy named Alan posted to chart analyst Bobby back on October 30th asking, "Have you given up on XRP?" Now, why would he ask that? Because Bobby had been catching heat for about 10 days straight. He was actually one of the first people calling out that XRP might take a short-term dive before rocketing higher later on. People were not happy with him about that. Turns out, Bobby nailed it. XRP went down just like he said. A few days back, I actually dedicated almost an entire video to his perspective because at the time, his view was super rare. Practically nobody else was saying we'd see a downward move. That's exactly why I gave it so much airtime. You deserve to see both angles. Bull case, bear case, all laid out so you can make your own call. You're grown adults who can think for yourselves. But finding those contrarian takes? Not easy. And look, Bobby's targets, yeah, we've definitely dropped. But this isn't some random troll talking trash. Bobby's been part of the XRP community for years. He's one of us. During the toughest times, Bobby was out there saying XRP was going way higher. And he still believes that. So when Alan asked him on October 30th, right when Bobby was one of the few warning about that drop, "Have you given up on XRP?" Here's what Bobby said. "Brother, I'll never give up on XRP. Have I de-risked? Yes. Am I still comfortably positioned from much lower? Yes. Will I purchase more? Should the asset correct? Absolutely. The only thing that has changed about my $8 to $13 target is time, in my opinion." That's really interesting, right? He's still calling for up to $13 per XRP this cycle. The only thing that's shifted is the timeline. Doesn't that line up with what Raoul Pal and TechDev and Julian Bentel have been saying about an extended cycle? Bobby seems to be thinking this stretches out further now. I haven't seen him specify exactly how much further, maybe I just missed it. Don't want to put words in his mouth. But here's the thing, he's not worried about any of this. Nothing's broken with XRP in his view. It's purely about reading the short-term price action on the charts and calling what's most probable. The big picture? That hasn't changed for him at all. Here's a post from chart analyst Ali Martinez that I shared yesterday, right before the market tanked. Look at the price. XRP was at $2.53. The good old days. Literally yesterday. $2.53. He was warning us, and man, he was pretty much spot on. Yesterday morning he wrote, "XRP showing signs of weakness. A retest of $2.25 might be next." We basically got that. Live CoinWatch is showing $2.27 right now. And I'm willing to bet on some exchanges it dipped even lower since they're averaging out data from multiple sources. He nailed it. Here's a post from chart analyst Tony Severino. XRP monthly LMACD has crossed bearish for the third time ever. The two past bearish crossovers resulted in an 87% and a 71% drawdown after the signal fired. The signal is still unconfirmed, so bulls must push price much higher this month or risk seeing the signal confirm. This is a rare bearish momentum cross potentially forming on XRP's monthly chart, the same signal that historically came before major pullbacks. But, and this is important, the signal hasn't confirmed yet. We're also in one of the most pro-liquidity macro environments crypto has ever seen. This is a critical moment for the market. It's not a done deal, and Tony's not saying it is either. So look, bulls simply need to defend the trend here. And yeah, that's true, but it brings us back to this whole idea that something big is about to happen. The question is, are we talking about a monstrous drop, or are we looking at just a crazy rip to the upside? You can see what he's getting at with the MACD sitting in the red right now. But here's the thing. We're only 3 days into November, and we're looking at the monthly chart, so it could absolutely flip green. Keep in mind, though, this is a momentum indicator, so draw your own conclusions on this one. Personally, I'm really hoping the analysts who are calling for a very green November turn out to be right. Even if we start off rough, maybe the first week or two get pretty choppy or kind of negative, I'm hoping we claw it all back before the month wraps up. That's what I'm banking on. All right, so check out what Crypto Insight UK dropped. He's asking, hey, what pattern do you see when XRP funding goes negative on the weekly? And here's the kicker. Historically, when everyone's betting against XRP and that funding flips negative on the weekly chart, XRP has this habit of saying, watch this, and moving higher. Right now, funding's negative again. Traders are piling into shorts. Does that mean we're definitely going up? Nah, there's no guarantees in this game, but historically speaking, this setup has been rocket fuel for XRP pumps, not dumps. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Crypto Insight UK drops another post saying, all I'm going to say is on November 5th, 2024, XRP started its rally up, hitting $2.90 by December 3rd. All I'm going to say is November 5th is swell day 2. So wait, if we copy-paste that exact same move, we're talking $13 by December 3rd. Yeah, it's straight hopium, but why not hope for the simulation? Look, I know it's pure hopium injected directly into the veins, but I'm sharing this because imagine if this actually plays out, and I'm sitting here a month from now like, remember when we talked about this? I would lose my mind. That would be incredible. We're obviously having some fun with this, but let's be real for a second. This kind of explosive move, it's not impossible in crypto. This market can shift from doom and gloom to absolute mania in the span of a few weeks. It's happened before. Will it happen this fast? Your guess is as good as mine. But what's crazy is that with how things are positioned right now, you can't completely rule it out. That's crypto for you. Anything's possible, but nobody's got a crystal ball. All right, so chart analyst Dom just posted an XRP to US oil chart, and honestly, he's not thrilled about what he's seeing. He says, XRP US oil update. The not ideal scenario looks to have played out here on this pairing. I'm not going to walk through his entire thread, but basically what you're seeing on screen right now is exactly what he was worried might happen. He points out 3 rejections trying to break back out of this range. It's crunch time where bulls hold this third quartile, orange, or we likely make our way back to mid-range. And here's the key part. Bullish structure does not come back until price can break over those 3 rejections points. So you can feel the tension in this analysis, right? This is another analyst basically waving a flag saying, hey everyone, we're at a pretty critical moment here. Bulls either hold the line or we're sliding back down. It's one of those make or break situations. Look, I've been seeing this vibe everywhere, whether analysts are saying it outright or just heavily implying it through their charts. We're at a crucial moment, no doubt about it. But here's what I need to make crystal clear. This doesn't mean the sky is falling. Even if we somehow slip into a bear market, which I don't think is happening right now, but let's say we do and things go south for a while, guess what? There's going to be another bull market in crypto down the road. That's just how this works. XRP isn't going to zero. Bitcoin's not dying. Ethereum's not dying. Nothing in the fundamentals has fundamentally broken in a way that suggests this stuff is going away. This is just crypto being crypto. Extreme volatility? That's not a bug, it's a feature. This is completely normal for this asset class, especially for XRP. So if we do get a downturn, am I going to panic? Absolutely not. I'm just going to keep grinding, keep stacking my income, and as I earn more money, I'm going to scoop up more crypto at discount prices if that scenario plays out. Then when the next bull market inevitably rolls around, I'm going to sell it for way more than I paid. Simple as that. So honestly, it's all going to work out. There's really no logical reason to be afraid right now. So Chartner just posted saying, XRP accumulation in an uptrend points towards continuation. Patience. Now this is on the weekly time frame, but he points out that the key monthly moving averages acting as support in this accumulation zone are sitting between $2.37 and $1.95. So he's clearly acknowledging here that, yeah, we could drift lower. He's not outright predicting a drop, but he's definitely putting those levels out there as possibilities. And from what I've seen of his analysis, he doesn't seem to think that dropping into that range would wreck the higher time frame outlook, like it wouldn't break the overall bullish structure he's watching. At least, I haven't seen him suggest anything like that. Chart analyst Casey Trades just dropped a warning that XRP could fall somewhere between $2.04 and $1.72. He's flagging those as key support levels and basically saying, hey, if we hit those zones, don't act shocked. Look, here's the reality. If Bitcoin decides to take a nosedive, you better believe XRP and everything else is coming along for the ride. That's just crypto being crypto. You've got to take the good with the bad. That's the deal you sign up for. It's not like volatility suddenly stops existing just because you decided to jump in. This stuff has been swinging wildly to the downside with regularity for over 16 years. You buying in doesn't change the game. You're going to experience massive drawdowns too. Either you've got conviction or you don't. Me? I've got actual diamond hands. Like figurative diamond hands too. I just refuse to sell. And I feel completely comfortable with that stance. I've got my conviction locked in. My conviction is my conviction. That's it. There's no secret formula here. Look, there's no secret trick here. I'm not faking it when I say days like this don't stress me out. The reason is simple. I actually believe what I'm telling you. Like, I genuinely think the crypto asset class is going to be worth way more down the road. And here's the thing. I'm just going to stick around for it. Do I know exactly what's going to happen? Nope. Do I know where prices are headed next week or next month? Not a clue. But what I do believe is that overall, we're going to keep moving up. That's why I sleep easy at night. Yeah, the volatility is insane. It would freak out most people. But because I genuinely believe in where this is going, all that crazy up and down stuff doesn't shake me. All right, so chart analyst Tara just dropped a post. Not going to read you the whole paragraph, but the headline is she's calling for XRP to potentially slide down to about $1.88. And she's not alone. I'm seeing a bunch of analysts saying similar things. So yeah, heads up. But look, before you start panicking, take a breath. Even if we do see that drop, the world keeps spinning. XRP right now has the strongest fundamentals in its entire 13-plus year existence. This thing isn't vanishing into thin air just because of some red candles. Sure, everything moves together when the market dumps. But flip the script. When risk appetite comes back and money starts hunting for a home, where does it go? Into coins that actually do something. Coins that solve real-world problems. And honestly, why wouldn't XRP be top of that list? It checks all the boxes. It's just waiting for the market to catch up. You need the right conditions. That's the only piece missing here. You need the right setup, an environment where people are actually hungry for risk-on assets again. And that's exactly why I keep beating this drum. If you just let the clock tick, you'll get there eventually. It's coming. You just can't rush it. Here's the deal, though. Stop stressing about what you can't control. You can't snap your fingers and make the market rally tomorrow. But you know what you can control? Whether you're actually holding when it does happen. That's your move to make. Me, I'm making absolutely certain I've got skin in the game. End of story. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't go making buy or sell decisions based on what some guy on YouTube is saying. That would be wildly irresponsible.